Every year, the number of children diagnosed with ADHD goes up. The drug Ritalin is often used, but new guidelines from NICE are going to make some radical suggestions about diagnosis and treatment. They'll say the under fives shouldn't have the drugs at all, and older children, unless it's very severe, should be offered psychological support and their parents training programmes before drugs are even considered. But new research has found that children themselves can be surprisingly positive about taking medication. Their views aren't often heard, but Dr. Inala Singh from the London School of Economics conducted in-depth interviews with children with ADHD, and we spoke to some of them too.
It's like, you know, have you ever seen Spider-Man? Like, you know, like Dr. Tavis when he's got all the tentacles and he can't control who he is. You feel a bit like that, like you're not in control of your body, you react. People that see you think, because they're like, when they see you running about, you know, being you, they go, oh, you must be immature and violent, I'm not going to hang around with you. Because they see you like punching stuff like to get your anger out, and like they think, oh, I'm not going to hang around with you because you're violent.
I was a bit more random than everyone else. Like I used to just stand up in class and shout chaffinch and make waving arm motions. With certain things, I become more aggressive easily, and like people often sometimes take the mickey out of you for it. And I used to get really angry about it, but now I don't lash out.
People at school used to bully me, and I was bullied since reception by this boy, and he knew that I was easy to wind up. So I used to lose my temper in like a second or two because he knew that I was an easy target.
Recently at school, I've had a person almost come up to me and go, do you want to fight? And I'm like, no. And he goes, but you've got ADHD, you have to fight. And I'm like, no, I don't, it's my free choice.
I always wanted to be a centre of attention. Where at school I used to make quite a lot of people upset. I never used to have that many friends because I always used to fall out with them, hit them or shout at them.
I couldn't control myself in the way that all my friends could. I used to be a bit more hyperactive than all them. Like they all used to like grow up faster and like be more mature. I was a bit impatient. I couldn't like control it. If someone said anything to me, I couldn't really control my temper, and like I used to lash out at them. But I've learned to calm down a bit now.
Some of the names, like pill boy, and some stuff to do with the medication, or others like go angry face. Like just useless threats nowadays. But when you're younger, names can be a bit more of a put down.
Some of them were talking there about being bullied for having ADHD. Was that something that came out quite strongly in the research?
Yes, children are bullied for these ADHD behaviours. They're bullied for their inability to control their impulsive behaviour. They're bullied for not always understanding proper social cues. They're bullied for getting in trouble a lot in the school classroom, for chucking things across the room or for not being able to sit still. So all of these are behaviours that mark children out as different, and they receive quite a lot of bullying, some of them, particularly if they also are not self-confident children. Some children with ADHD have enough social confidence that none of the bullying really matters to them. And some children also have a lot of friends. And one of the things we've found is that when it comes to ADHD behaviours, one of the important things to children in helping them behave in the context of their peers is having some friends who will look out for them and help them in social situations.
Now, some children who have ADHD are given drugs for it, and Ritalin's the most common. So we asked the children what they made of taking the drugs.
When I'm not on my medication, I'm a totally different person. I can be hyperactive, you know, and like get short tempered. But when I'm on my medication, I'm like, I can concentrate better. I feel like I'm more in control of what I'm doing in my surroundings.
I know it helps, but it's quite annoying because I want to see if I can do it on my own. But if I'm going to get help, I have to take them.
And what effect do you think taking the tablets has on you?
I think it calms me down and don't make me lose my temper as easy. And I think it tells me to leave it alone and don't fight.
I'm not on medication anymore. One day I just refused to take medication because some of the days when you forget to take medication, you feel different from what you do. Like, I feel a bit less aggressive, but more free of my opinion. Medication works differently for everyone. Like, some people, it just makes them shake uncontrollably.
And what effect did it have on you when you first took it? Did it calm you down, or?
It calmed me down for my hyperactivity, but it did make me like more wanting to. Well, I got stressed easier.
Sometimes I think the tablets don't really do anything, but then a couple of days I didn't take it because I didn't think that was helping me. Then I realised when I didn't take it, I was angry nearly all the time. But when I started taking it again, I see that I made more friends than I did as usual. So I just started taking them again.
I mean, I was really struck by how positive they were about taking the drugs.
The children we speak to are generally quite positive about taking these drugs, but the other thing that I hear when I listen to these children and other children talk about the drugs is how thoughtful they are about it, that it's not just blanketly, this is great, it changes my life, I can now function and perform, nor is it, this is awful, but that there's a real integration of the positive and the negative, and you can also hear them weighing it up for themselves, so that older children we speak to very often will start to wonder what they're like off medication and begin to do some experimentation with going off medication, sometimes with their parents' knowledge and sometimes not. And of course we do suggest that children talk to their parents if they're going to experiment this way, and to their clinicians. But children understand the benefits that this drug has, even though they find it annoying, and they know it's not a panacea. They know they still have to make an effort, even with the drug, to behave properly and to focus and concentrate.
So did you find there was more of a stigma associated with some of the behaviours they showed than there was with taking drugs?
Among UK children we've spoken to, a very surprising finding to us is that there is a lot more stigma attached to ADHD behaviours in the social context than there is to taking medication. ADHD behaviours really mark children out as different, and it makes it very difficult for them socially sometimes. Whereas taking medication, some children tell us, well, my friends say everybody takes some sort of medication, so it's not a problem. Other children don't tell people at school, and because we now have these long-acting medications where children are no longer needing to be medicated during the school day, it's possible for their friends not to know.
You're doing a larger study that spans the UK and the US. Now over in the US, what sort of age might children start taking medication?
Well, in the UK, generally children are initially diagnosed with ADHD around primary school age, so around 7 or 8. And some parents want to wait to see what happens until children take medications. In the United States, there is quite a frightening trend of children at very young ages starting to be given medications for ADHD and for other conditions such as pediatric bipolar disorder, for example, or depression. And so there are instances of children as young as 3 being put on psychiatric medications. And the problem with this, of course, is that we have absolutely no safety data for this kind of practice. And so we need to be very, very careful about these very young children on these drugs.
Also, it must be very hard to diagnose what's normal 3-year-old behaviour and something that needs medication.
Yes, well, the normal is a perennial problem in psychiatry, and it is even more a problem when you're looking at the behaviour of young children. And diagnoses creep, in my opinion, in relation also to the pressure from the drug companies to sell their drugs, and a lack of resources in the community to deal properly with the behaviour of children. So it's not to say that drugs don't work and that they aren't appropriate under certain conditions, but we need to be very careful about the other social conditions that create opportunities to take up these drugs.
So what sort of impact would you like your research to have, ideally?
I would like this research to demonstrate the usefulness of bringing children into the discussion about how to provide good services for families and children in the psychiatric community. But I would also like to demonstrate the usefulness of bringing children into clinical research trials, not just as subjects, but also as people from whom we can learn about the experiences of diagnosis and drugs qualitatively, so that we can understand from their perspectives what it is like to walk around and have these behaviors and elicit the kinds of responses from the community that they do, and to learn from them more about the risks and benefits of taking medications to deal with their problematic behaviors. I think one of the things that we've found very strongly is that some of the ideas out there about the potential harms of medication for children are not being supported by our conversations with children, so that we're not seeing that children's sense of personal authenticity is being violated. We're not seeing that they begin to give over all their responsibility over their personal behavior to the drug. We're not seeing threats to personal autonomy. So we're learning a lot from children about the kinds of things that we need to worry about and the kinds of things that we don't need to worry about.
Dr. Ilana Singh.